Welcome back, everybody, to the Good All Hockey Podcast. My name's Sean. I'm alongside Mr. David Galli. We're here getting ready. We're about midway through the second round. We've got some controversy out in Boston that we're going to talk about. Just the rest of the playoff series, too. We're kind of a weird time right now, just with none of these series being quite over yet. Some 3-1 leads we've got. We're recording this on Monday. It's coming out Wednesday. So we're going to be a bit behind just with the Rangers and possibly Boston and Florida. We don't know the answer to that. You guys do as a listener. But before we get into that, Galli, how was your weekend? Well, I guess we could both tell the story of the weekend. Saturday went to the Steelheads game. Watched them lose in overtime, but my over did hit. And, can't be too upset about it. But from what I remember of the game, it was a lot of fun. Towards the end, some of those drinks were flowing a little too heavy. But
yeah,
how was the rest of your weekend outside of that?
Weekend was good. Went to both the Steelheads games 4 and 5. They're one of my advertising clients, so get some free tickets for them. But it was a good weekend. I'm watching 2 dogs and a cat, so
that's right.
I'm getting it's a handful. It's like a humane society at my house right now, and I live in a pretty small house, so it's been a little bit difficult taking care of that just on my own. My girlfriend's out of town too, but I got pretty loaded on Friday and Saturday night. Didn't end up seeing the Northern Lights like everyone else did, probably in North America.
Yeah.
Sky could have been on fire and I wouldn't even have known. But dude, Saturday was lit. Good little barbecue for a pregame, cracking out my new grill and going to the game. That was a fun game to go to, and it was a pretty good series. Kansas City is just freaking good, man.
They look good. Their goalie's good too.
Yeah, I feel like that was a different goalie they played than Game 4. So
really?
I feel like at the beginning of the season or beginning of the series, they did win. The Steelheads did, which was a little bit surprising for me. But then, after that, like games 2 through 5, Kansas City just looked lights out, and they're dominating the Steelheads at home, which rarely happens. I want to say the Steelheads have probably the best home record in the ECHL in the past 5 years. They're usually really good, no matter who the opponent is. But Kansas City's just looking lights out. It was tough seeing them get out, especially on an overtime goal. That was something I feel like I don't think I've ever seen in person is like a playoff series end at home, with the losing team at home in overtime. So that was definitely pretty crushing. Steelheads had a good season, finished 4th in the league, but man, once again, just couldn't carry over that success from the regular season to the postseason, which they've been struggling with. They went to the
where was Kansas City?
They were 1st in the league.
Okay, so they just this is a bad seeding.
Yeah, and the Mountain Division's usually pretty good. There's at least one team that's dominant. Last year, it was us. The Steelheads had a record-breaking regular season.
Yeah.
Who knows if it will ever get broken? They were lights out. I want to say they only had 11 losses throughout the whole season.
That's crazy.
We were kind of that team to beat last year, but this year, Kansas City going into it was probably the best team in the Western Conference. Toledo is probably up there too. But it's going to be interesting to see if anyone does beat Kansas City going forward. I'd probably predict them at least to go to the final.
Yeah.
Shit, man, I'm not too versed on how the Eastern Conference is going in the ECHL, but man, it was a good season for the Steelheads. Hopefully, we can maybe interview some of them on the off season.
Yeah, no, that would be cool. And for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, if you sound lost, like you just clicked on the wrong video, we're talking about ECHL hockey. But Steelheads last year were insane, and I think it's just tough. From what you've explained to me too, it seems like their goalie carried them, or their goalies have carried them the last couple of years, and that just doesn't last in the ECHL because they get called up when they're that hot.
Yeah, and especially last year. I think the duo of Remy Poirier and Adam Scheel, which both of them are in the AHL now, was just like one of the best duos the Steelheads have probably ever had. And to be honest, like any ECHL team, those both of them were. Dallas Stars farm teams goalies were deep enough last year that they didn't get called up too much unless there was an injury. So that was really beneficial versus this year. There's definitely some call ups that hurt the Steelheads big time. So I do feel bad for them on that part. I feel like that really messed with their chemistry. But I mean, that's how it is when like in the ECHL, you got to expect that. And I know
Yeah.
they do expect that, but it is harder said than done to put together a really good team, especially of young players. When there's a young player that's good, I mean, they're going to get yanked up.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's a good point. But enough about some ECHL hockey. We're going to move on. Before we get into the playoffs, though, I do want to give a quick shout out for the draft lottery. If you guys have not watched that video, the reaction video, it's on our live section of the YouTube channel. You can go see me freak the fuck out about the Sharks getting the first overall pick. Honestly, I was so in shock. If you guys did watch that, I was just in utter shock that it happened. I didn't really know what to say afterwards. I needed to process it for a minute. But the Sharks fan this year, we definitely needed that. That was a boost in some morale there. Macklin Celebrini is a special player. He's going to be a joy to watch, and good that he's coming back to San Jose. For those of you that didn't know, his dad actually is a trainer for the Golden State Warriors. And yeah, I think it's just exciting for that fan base to be. We've had it rough the past 5 years. It's been really bad, and we haven't made the playoffs since 2019. So, I feel like the Sharks, I'll give a little spiel here about the Sharks. I haven't been able to talk about them really all year. So now's my time. But honestly, the Sharks' depth and their youth that they have right now, I'm very excited for. And I think we can see there's a bright spot in the future. It may be 3-4 years down the line, but it's still there. And as long as everything goes our way, and everyone signs coming out of college, doesn't pull an Adam Fox and doesn't want to sign with us, then I think we'll be good. But
Hey, that only happens in Calgary.
I know, I had to throw that in there. But and also, I mean, I think this draft class is going to be special. I think last year was really good. It makes it seem like this draft class isn't as strong, but it's definitely one of the better ones I've seen in the past couple of years. So any team in the top 10 is getting a good player. They're going to be a strong suit on that team.
No, and I feel like the Sharks, they have a very strong like prospect core right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like they still have a ways to go.
Yeah.
Maybe another year or two before they might be a fringe playoff team. It's going to be interesting to see how. I mean, I'm sure Celebrini is going to be in the NHL next year. For sure, Will Smith is. So it's going to be interesting. That would be shocking. Will Smith would be shocking if he didn't go to the NHL. I mean, Celebrini in a way would too, because they just dominated the NCAA. I mean, Celebrini won the damn Hobie Baker. Is he going to win another Hobie Baker? Like, I feel like he's already said and done. Like, figured it out. Will Smith led the freaking league in points, so it's like I feel like they should move up. I hope the Sharks push for them to do that, just because I feel like it might help their development too, and it might, it would be sweet to see both of them and see how they do in San Jose. I still feel like they have to do some work on their D-core. I feel like on forwards they're doing pretty good, and they also got to get a goaltender. It's interesting that Celebrini did play for the Junior Sharks. I know another very good player for the Flames did, as in Dustin Wolf. So hopefully nothing happens there. Hopefully he stays with the Flames. But
no, Dustin, I feel like was more. He played his later years in LA, but he grew up a Sharks fan. But I don't even know how that, like, I guess that's just a question we'd have to ask him someday. But just like how that works with, like, I don't know. I'm not a professional hockey player, but I feel like if I got drafted and like how you just like switch, like, you grow up watching this one team, like say for you, for example, you're Calgary Flames diehard fan. And then as you get older, you're 18, you get drafted by the Tampa Bay Lightning. Does that like, I don't know. It doesn't connect with me because I don't get it.
You got to be once you get drafted by a team, even if it's the freaking,
Blue Jackets,
Anaheim Ducks or Blue Jackets, you got to become the biggest fan of them. I mean, you just got to be fertile like that. And I know some players do kind of feel that probably longer in their career. I really hope Cale Makar feels that, because Cale Makar's there's pictures of him in the Flames jerseys, and he was a pretty big Flames fan growing up. A lot of players from Calgary, so we'll see if that ends up happening. That would be delighted if I saw Cale Makar in a Flames jersey. But Yeah, no, it's interesting. I feel like most players definitely switch to whatever team they're drafted by. And speaking of that, the Flames are drafted at 9, which they didn't move up. No team moved up, which that
Mm-mm.
hasn't happened since
I
2010.
know. Yeah.
Which was kind of non-exciting. I feel like that would have been exciting for the
Yeah.
live stream if we had some sort of
Some
movement.
movement. Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of, old players, TJ Ginla is
Mhm.
on the draft board, and I know Flames are dying for the Flames to draft him. We'll see
Yeah.
if he falls to 9 because his draft stock's gone up a lot. But yeah, man, if he gets on the Flames, the Flames are going to be. I don't think it's going to change the Flames that much, but it's going to create a lot of excitement if Iginla is going to be playing for that organization because I think that he goes to the NHL next year, especially if he goes with the Flames and they have room for him on their roster.
Mhm.
So we'll see how his training camp is if he does get drafted by them. I mean, this is
Sure.
all
Yeah.
speculation, but
Hypothetical. I mean, he's God given right to play as a Calgary Flame. I feel like so they got to make it happen if they need to trade up. But yeah, I'm excited.
Craig
Honestly, this
Conroy, make
draft.
it happen.
Yeah, and we have tickets. We're going to be in the
Oh
Sphere for
yeah,
the draft. I know we've said that we're going to be there. Weren't sure about tickets, but after the draft lottery, they went on sale. We got a good deal. We're going to be at the Sphere, which honestly, I'm two-part excited. I'm excited to be at the draft, but I'm also excited to be at this Sphere thing because I've always seen it on the internet, and I don't know. I guess I never really thought I'd ever go to the Sphere or like be inside of it.
same.
And
I'm
then,
I'm I'm stoked too, dude.
yeah,
I
it'll
mean,
be
like
fun.
like a huge dome thing, and like I've
Yeah.
seen how there's certain, like U2 had a concert there, and it looked
Hmm.
freaking insane, like out of this
Yeah.
world. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with the draft. I think it's also like we don't have like GA seats like on the
Yeah.
floor or anything,
True.
which I
Yeah.
think is fine.
Yeah.
Especially for a draft, and I think it's
Yeah.
gonna be really cool still, even from like those seats that are a little bit higher up. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, I'm stoked for the draft. Somewhat stoked to go back to Sin City. I've had some good bad memories there too.
Yeah.
So I think
We'll
it's like
be,
my 5th time going
yeah.
back. So
Yeah. Damn.
I've been
I've
to
only been
Sin
there
City a
once
lot.
since 21, and that time was fun. I stayed up as a story for another pod, maybe in the off season or when we're in Vegas, we can tell around. But it's kind of like it's a work trip for us. So technically everything is fine. We're not going there just to party. We're there to connect and network and get some cool interviews, possibly some street content. We'll see. But
Oh yeah,
with
it's gonna be
that,
sick.
we'll talk about that more as it comes closer. But we've got some playoff hockey to talk about.
Oh yeah.
One that's going on right now, Rangers in Carolina. It's game 5. I mean, shoot, one thing I wanted to say about the Hurricanes and the past really two playoff series, they got swept by the Panthers last year. But game 1, they went into what, like triple double overtime. Game 2, again, they lost in overtime. Like they lost every single one of those games to the Panthers. They lost those games so close. It was a 1-goal game. I want to say every single one of them. And now they're playing the Rangers, who just won the President's Trophy in the second round. They're playing them in the second round, and they're getting bit by this,
Yeah.
these teams that can just finish. And maybe it is, maybe I shouldn't feel bad for them. They just can't finish. But I
Yeah.
part of it's, I don't know.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, every single game in this series has been 1-goal game. I know a lot
Yeah.
of people were like, Rangers are gonna sweep, it's easy. But like, dude, at least 2 of those games could have gone the other way. It could
Yeah.
be tied right now, 2-2,
Mhm.
or I mean, who even knows? Carolina
Well,
could
even
be
game
up
4.
3-1.
Game 4,
But
they won at the last couple minutes, right? They scored
yeah,
with like 2 minutes left. So even
yeah.
then, that
And
could have gone the other way.
I don't know what it is with Carolina. Carolina just like they always have good teams. They always
Mhm.
have talented players. They have a great coach. And they just like can't figure it out in the playoffs. Like I don't understand what it is.
Mhm.
There's always a team that knocks. I feel like they always are coming across some of the best teams in the playoffs. They either make the Stanley Cup
Yeah.
final or they're a ship like the Rangers. I mean, the Rangers have only lost 1 game all playoffs.
Yeah.
They're arguably the best team in the playoffs right now. I mean, Igor Shesterkin has been lights out this series too. I think it's pretty crazy how the whole Madison Square Garden is chanting his name. I think that's something really freaking cool.
Yeah.
But not only that, I mean, I know Biz said this, I agree with him. Like he's looking like the early Conn Smythe winner, which I
Mhm.
think that's pretty crazy to say this early in, only round 2,
Yeah,
but I mean, the Rangers are looking real good, and I mean, it's going to come down to. I mean, I would be shocked if Carolina comes back in this series. I mean, we'll see how this game goes tonight. I probably would expect the Rangers to win. But yeah, man, like I just don't know if Boston or Florida are the team to beat them necessarily,
I
because
know
I mean the Rangers look outstanding. So
they do.
it's been a pretty good series though. But yeah, I mean just the series 3-1, it just doesn't show it at
Yeah,
least. So
no, it's true. Like it looks like it's a dominating performance by the Rangers, but I mean they've been able to close out, which is the only thing that really matters at the end of the day. Scoreboard says 3-1 on the series, but I mean, honestly, hats off to them for putting this team, making this series really close. And like I said, it may not look like it, but it is a close series. And we'll talk about Boston and Florida next. But yeah, I don't really know. I love Florida, but I don't. I'm honestly scared for them. I don't really know how this series is going to go if they do finish it out. If Boston comes back, I mean, the only thing they would have on their side is that they have a great goalie in Jeremy Swayman. But if they're doing what they're doing against Florida, which I guess we can kind of transition. Do you have anything else left? The
no, man,
Rangers?
I do think that the series is going to end tonight though in Game
Yeah.
5. I would be pretty shocked, and it's 0-0. I feel like New York is so good in these low scoring games.
Yeah.
Like they're one of the hardest teams to beat in these really low scoring games, and I just feel like they're probably going to seal it off. Um, Speaking of just watching former Calgary Flame Adam Fox shoot, but yeah, this Panthers Bruins series, man,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I think the Panthers are going to finish it out though.
Yeah. I don't think that, I mean, there's a lot to break down here. I'm going to keep it simple
Yeah.
at the start, and then we'll go into more of the tinfoil hat stuff. But to begin with, like, I mean, Boston, you guys can say all you want about complaining about the refs and all that shit, but you guys are getting outplayed every single game except for game one. Game one, like I said last episode, you guys had the benefit of striking the iron while it's hot. Now Florida's woken up and they're dominating you guys. No matter how you want to look at it. Yes, some of those goal calls yesterday, penalties, whatever. You can say the refs are fixing it. I don't care, but at the end of the day, you've got 44 shots. You guys got, or Florida had 44 shots on goal. You guys had 18. Game 3, Florida 33. You guys 17. Game 2, Florida 33. You guys 15. Like, how can you expect? Sure, you can say, oh, it's good goal scoring opportunities, but Swayman's standing on his head for you guys. You guys can't produce any offense at all because Florida's scoring 6-2 the last game 2 and 3, and then yesterday 3-2. So I don't know. Boston, you guys got to figure something out to come back on this team. I don't think it's out of the question, but I'm leaning towards Florida the way they've been playing. They look super, super dominant in the offensive zone. They looked like that against the Lightning, and game 2 and beyond, they've looked the same against the Bruins. I just blame the refs all you want, but they're still going to take it on you guys, and you can clip that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely. I know you got some beef on Boston, but yeah, I just feel like Florida's on a roll right now. They're kind of firing on all cylinders. I mean, defensively, they're playing great. I mean, when you're holding a team like Boston to that lowest shots, which I mean, going back to the Rangers and Boston too. I mean, Boston's another team that plays really good in low scoring games,
Yeah.
but a lot of these games have not been low scoring. Florida's definitely figured out Boston's goaltending,
Yeah.
which is interesting. I know we've talked about it a little bit and we got shit on for it, but yeah, man, it's been a scrappy series though. I feel like there's a lot of fights in this.
Yeah.
Matthew Kachuk's always stirring stuff up. Pasternak's fighting freaking Kachuk, which was legendary,
Yeah.
even though he kind of got his ass kicked.
Yeah.
I
Still
mean, that
props to him. Yeah.
whole thing with Marchand happened where, Sam Bennett, kind of cheap shot at him, but
He did. Yeah.
wasn't really released until the day after, which
Yeah.
interesting.
It was.
But yeah, I mean, I guess going to that, what's your take on the whole Sam Bennett situation?
I think for the little sucker punch on Brad Marchand, yes, it was cheap, but it's hockey. I'm sorry. Like, you're going to get away with certain things. And I know Department of Player Safety probably fumbled the bag a little bit on that. But at the same time, like, it's playoff hockey. And, we've talked about this before with, fighting and the policing there is in hockey. Pat Maroon needs to go out there and take Sam Bennett's head off. That's the only, like, in this game, obviously legally, you don't want to just go out there and you're going to get in trouble for that. But like, this game is built off policing. And, if people are going to get away with stupid shit like that, I don't think the right way to do it is to come back and, be punching Matthew Tkachuk in the head or doing shit like that. The way to send a message is to fucking win, but you guys can't do that. You guys can't. Like, I don't get it. There's so many times where they're complaining about this and that and this and that. It's like, go win a game. You won game 1. You can do it again, but they just can't. They're just going to, all the Boston fans are probably going to come at me for this video. I don't really care, but it's really frustrating because all they do is complain and complain. And that's what Boston is as a whole. Boston, all they do is complain, and it's fucking annoying.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
Just
I'm a
go win.
Patriots fan, and holy shit, the fan base is toxic there. But yeah, man, I mean, Sam Bennett and Kachuk has always been a pest, probably
Yeah.
the biggest pest in the league. It's interesting Marchand got knocked out, though.
Yeah.
I feel like I mean, I don't know. It sounds like he got pretty injured by that hit. But Sam Bennett's interesting. I mean, I've watched both Kachuk and Sam Bennett throughout their whole career. Kachuk has been a shithead since day one. That's apparent to everyone. Sam Bennett kind of had to step into a grinder role with the Flames because, I mean, when he got drafted, he was the number 1 draft prospect of that draft, but he couldn't register a freaking pull-up at the draft combine, and his draft stock fell so hard. The Flames drafted him, I think, 4th overall, highest draft pick by the Flames, by the way. But he wasn't really all that in terms of skill like people thought he was going to be. So he kind of took this grinder role, and dude, he had some gnarly scraps with the Flames, kind of some dirty. He got away with some things with the Flames. He's getting away with stuff on the Panthers too.
Yeah.
So I mean, nothing's changed, but having that 1-2 punch, Bennett and Kachuk, I'm sure they're pretty good buds too after playing up in Calgary. But yeah, man, I mean, I think with that whole hit situation, it's hard for fans to be calling that out just because I think more or less I don't know if it's on the league or ESPN or who it is on to not be showing the full replays when it happens. But yeah, I mean, it was a dirty hit. You're right. It's the playoffs. Shit's going to happen like that. But yeah, it's just going to be how they respond. And I know Pat Maroon, a lot of people are pointing. It's crazy. Like the fan base and media is pointing fingers at Pat Maroon to do something, which is like, I mean, I guess that's his job in a way.
Yeah.
But someone else step up from the fucking Bruins. It shouldn't just be Pat Maroon's job. Pasternak fought, which is like, what? A Kachuk too. That's like, I feel like that's pretty damn scary for Pasta to do that. I mean, when I saw that all happen, I was like, what's going on? Like, I love when 2 superstars fight. It's the best shit ever. But yeah, man, I think Florida is gonna close us out though. It would be crazy if Boston came back.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, Boston. I just don't think this is your year.
No. What do you think about that goal call? Did you watch that? The possible goaltender interference?
No, so I didn't see what that was all about. Yeah.
So it's very hit or miss. I am conflicted. I texted my friend who's a ref, asked him what he thought. And I've also asked other biased people. I've tried to get I have a clear bias against Boston. So my initial thought was playoff hockey. Bennett was, I can pull it up actually, but my initial reaction was just that he's trying to create space, gives a little shove. And if you want to call what he did a cross check in the playoffs, you're crazy. You're not going to call that shit. That's not something that you call in the playoffs for a little shove on the back of the numbers. He didn't go and like do that. It was a simple little move out of the way, takes a shot. Now he pushed Charlie Coyle into Jeremy Swayman. And initially when you look at it, you're like, okay, that's probably goaltender interference. But on the rule book, and I'm not saying I disagree or agree with this, but this is just what the league said on why they called it a good goal, was because Jeremy Swayman was in no position to make that save in the first place. So there's no point in calling it back saying oh, it's no goal because he shoved him, and Charlie Coyle's already moving forward. He gets a little extra shove and falls into Swayman, but Swayman's way out of position. He probably was not going to make that save. Now, I don't know that the league has the right to say that and say that he had no opportunity or wasn't in the right position to make that save because he's Jeremy Swayman. He very well could have. But again, to blame the refs on all this, I don't know. You can't act like you're getting your ass kicked by this team and then it's tough though. It's game 4 that if because that was a game tying goal. If Florida didn't score that, this series could potentially be tied right now, and now Florida's up 3-1. So I understand the frustration.
Yeah.
But at the same time, go do something on offense. Like Florida, every game I've watched, Florida looks like the better team in the offensive zone, especially. Bruins can't get the puck out of the zone. Florida's great at their forecheck that they do. They're also good at moving the puck around to get good shots, and that's what they've been doing, and it works for them. So, at the end of the day, the best revenge you could get is a win, and I don't think they should stoop down to playing like Florida does with – you're not going to beat Florida at that. That's what they do. They're little rats. It's like it's in the name. It's in the mascot. They're little rats. And if you're going to play them at that game, 10 times out of 10, you're going to lose. So
yeah, dude, I love them throwing the rats on the ice. That's some funny shit.
Yeah, but
even in Boston too, I would be afraid to be throwing a rat on the ice in Boston.
Yeah,
I would be afraid someone's going to kill me.
I know. When I went to the Vegas and Stars game in the Western Conference Finals last year. It was in Vegas, Game 5, and I was tempted to bring a rat with me and throw it on the ice, but I was, again, scared because I thought it would have been funny, would have made it on TV, a rat in a complete different series, but yeah, I was a little scared of that. So those people that threw in Boston a rat on the ice, yeah, ballsy guys. But enough about that. Stars and Avs, Game 4 is tonight. We don't know the answer to that game yet. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this series?
I mean, it's been a pretty close series. The Avs have been the Avs, at least the last game, looked a little bit flat to me. Didn't bring too much energy, like throughout the whole game. And on top of that, Ottinger just played real good. So I think that was the only game that was kind of not a blowout. I mean, it was 4-1, but somewhat dominance by Dallas. I mean, we were both at end zone for it. It was interesting to see. End zone's kind of a Colorado Avalanche bar now, and I saw a lot of Avs fans not so happy. But that makes my heart happy because I've gone in there a lot of times with Flame stuff, and people are like, "Oh, fuck that, fuck the Flames!" Like I'm an Avs fan, all this shit. There's some beef between Flames and Avs fans for some reason,
really?
But yeah, I don't know what it is.
Why is that?
I don't know what it is, but
you guys have always been in separate conferences.
Maybe it's just that end zone. I know we've played each other in the playoffs once or twice the past 10 years, and the series weren't anything special in my mind. But yeah, man, I feel like this is kind of a do or die game for Colorado. I mean, you don't want to go back to Dallas down 3-1.
Yeah, no.
And it's going to be a good game tonight. I mean, I kind of think that it's going to be high scoring from both ends. But something that I noticed too with the Stars is there's not really like one player carrying them necessarily. Ottinger probably out of anyone. Heiskanen is having a great fucking like playoffs too. I think he has 9 points, leading the team in points. But yeah, man, I mean, there's even point distribution around with Dallas right now, and it's going to be interesting to get tonight's game to see how things go down. I mean, the Avs are going to be putting it on. Like I'm expecting that. Like I think it's either going to be a high scoring game or the Avs are going to take it and probably blow their team over goals. Yeah. Speaking of betting.
Yeah, which we'll get into in the next one. But
what's your take on this series though?
Yeah, this series, I think I had voted for the Stars because I have them in my bracket. But I think Ottinger is playing great, and it's so hard with the playoffs when you have, except for Boston, when you have a goalie that's standing on your head, like you have all the edge in the world. And it's not that Georgiev isn't a great goalie, but he's just not up to the level of Ottinger. And, if Andre can keep this going, I think it's going to carry them far. I feel like out of the West, these two teams are the best. No offense to Vancouver, Edmonton, but I think the Stars and the Avs are the two best out of the West, if you want to be rhyming. But, and I think Vancouver, Edmonton, I think whoever wins this series, Stars and Avs, goes on to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Vancouver.
They have a case,
I hope Vancouver wins. I think Edmonton's frauds.
Yeah.
We'll see about all that, but I do think that they're somewhat frauds in the playoff this year. But yeah, I just feel like Stars and Canucks is going to be a good conference final if that happens. Yeah. But yeah, man, the Stars and Avs, whoever wins this is going to be, I think, the best team in the West, like you said. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting what goes down Game 4 tonight. Everyone listening is going to know what happened, but I'm very curious. I'm on edge about it.
Yeah, no, I am too. And honestly, like, I don't know if we said this last episode. I know I've said this multiple times to different people, but again, everyone on this list here deserves to be where they're at. I think that maybe Edmonton you could give slack to. I mean, they played the Kings, so it's not like they really had too difficult of a road. No offense to all the King, actually full offense to all the King fans out there, but I don't know. Edmonton, not that they don't deserve it, but everyone else outside of Edmonton, no doubt deserves to be in the spot that they're in right now.
At least in the West.
What about the East? You don't think anyone deserves to be there?
I mean, Rangers played the damn Capitals. I mean,
but they won the President's Trophy. Of course, they're going to be in the second round.
That's true. That's true. I just feel like, I mean, the Kings are a little bit better than the Capitals.
No, they
are.
And I'm not
barely made it in. But
I'm not saying by
even the Islanders
matchup.
Too.
I'm not saying by matchup. I'm just saying like throughout the season that they had. Like Vancouver had a great regular season. Yeah. Edmonton, honestly, I mean, Edmonton did have a better second half to the season, and
big time.
It's not to say I'm not saying that Edmonton. I don't know what I'm saying really. I guess but you know what I mean. Everyone here has done their work to get to this point in the playoffs, and honestly, all these teams, I don't really have anyone that I wouldn't think could Rangers are fucking good. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But what I do know is that this Vancouver Edmonton series is pretty good. So last night, I mean, it's been back and forth. This whole series, I want to say it took what? It was like it's been back and forth. All 1-goal games, all 3 games. And I don't know. I feel like we're just starting to get into the nitty-gritty of this series. It's been toss it back and forth. Brock Besser last night with the hat trick on Sunday in Game 3. In the first period too, which is crazy, and a natural hat trick. All 3 goals in a row in the first period is just wild.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Explain to the listeners a little bit about this parlay that we cooked up. Or actually, our listeners cooked up. It's not even our fault.
Yeah. So shout out the public. This is we're going to be doing some fan parlays for the people, decided by the people.
Yep.
We did a 4-leg parlay. We can maybe do a 5-leg next time, increase the odds a little bit. But we did have total goals over under 6.5. Connor McDavid over 1.5 points. Silovs over under 26.5 saves. And then JT Miller over under 2.5 shots. So we had everyone vote on our Instagram stories. So every weekend we're going to be doing this for at least one of the games in one of these series.
Yep.
This was the game that I just had a feeling was going to go well. So we picked over 6.5 goals, smashed easily. I mean, actually, you know what? That was somewhat close. It looked really good in the first period.
Yeah.
But I think that it was 4-2 with like a couple minutes left. They barely scored that empty netter. Or pardon me, they barely scored that last minute goal, which made it hit. Under for Connor McDavid. Somehow that hit. I'm pretty surprised he didn't even score a point, which odds would have been insane. So that hit. Then we had Silovs, had a great game, 41 save game, stood on his head. I mean, he's he's looking fucking excellent too. I mean, speaking of Shesterkin playing good, Silovs is playing good. I mean, to do that against the Oilers and the two highest scoring players in the playoffs right now, you know, Artur Silovs, I mean, he's putting Latvia on his back. He's putting Latvia on the map. I mean, what a fucking beauty, man. I mean, I'm sure the Canucks are stoked on that. It's going to be interesting to see what happens if Demko comes back, who they're going to go with. Like, I feel like you got to go with Silovs. If he's going to be hot, you got to go with him. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the parlay. Sorry. So we're at our third leg right now. All three of those hit. Then we had JT Miller over 2.5 shots. He had 2 shots, I think, going into the third period. So I'm like, please just get one shot. One shot, okay? Didn't end up getting the shot. He was on the ice with like 1 minute left. And he has this 6 shot from his own zone all the way down the ice. All right. And I'm sure people saw this all the way down the ice, hits the post, which does not count as a shot, which some people probably don't know. But yeah, that doesn't count as a shot on goal, even though it hits the post, which NHL changed that shit. But yeah, we ended up not hitting the parlay because JT Miller didn't score that full ice empty net goal.
Game of inches. Game of
Yeah,
inches.
man, that was heartbreaking because that was a plus 2,100 odds parlay, which is pretty fucking crazy. And I feel like if we would have hit that, we would have had a little bit of street cred in the sports betting community.
We've been ice
man,
cold.
tough fucking blow. That was our closest one all season, and of course, it came down to that. I mean, that was heartbreaking, man. But yeah, man, it was a good parlay. We're gonna be stoked for the next one. Hopefully, we hit it.
Yeah, yeah, I know. We started off at the beginning of the season. We were doing like 6 legs, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, you didn't hit!" And I'm like, "Yeah, because it's 6 legs of a parlay." Like, then we trimmed it down to 4, and we've gotten pretty close. That is the closest, yes, we've ever been.
We should.
I think the only win we've ever had that we've done publicly was the over 6.5 Steelheads game, which ended in not beautiful fashion, but it was just prime way to end an over 6.5. You get 3 + 3
equals 7.
Always equals 7, baby. Always. Steelheads, or no, I think the score is 3-2. All we needed was a Steelhead goal, and that over was going to hit for sure.
Yeah, 3 + 3 = 7 at Tate McRae, dude.
Yeah, at Tate McRae too. Yeah, I forgot I did that. That was not me talking. That was the liquor talking. But yeah, that Vancouver game was very interesting. All these games have been good. I think this series, it's tough to say, but I feel like this might go to 7. I feel like out of all these,
I mean, I could see Edmonton come swinging back. McDavid goes pointless. I mean, I'd fucking hammer McDavid over 1.5 points next game. I feel like he's going to be going hard in the paint. It's still crazy to me. I mean, he goes pointless one game, and he's still second place in playoff points right now with Draisaitl head. Speaking of Draisaitl, the shit he said at the end of the game with posts aren't good goaltending about Silovs is ridiculous. I don't know if you saw that, but there was an interview with Draisaitl. Fucking he came out and was just, I mean, they were like, what do you think about this 23-year-old's, plays and saves and whatnot? And posts aren't good goaltending, which I think that's kind of snotty to say, and it might bite him in the ass, unfortunately. I'm sure Draisaitl is probably gonna get booed when he goes back to Vancouver for that comment. But yeah, man, I mean, what do you say though if you're on the opposing team and especially after a loss?
He's salty,
yeah. What are you gonna say about that? But I mean, not surprised that's coming from Draisaitl. There's a lot of frustration in Edmonton right now. I think.
Oh yeah,
a lot of people think that they're a good team every year, and like it's like, is like are the Oilers going to choke? And they are looking towards trending to choke right now. I might eat my words if this swings back Edmonton's way, but they are looking like they are not as strong of a team as Vancouver. But they're lacking in the goaltending department, especially, which I think we've talked about that all season. So. Might end up biting them in the ass and getting them knocked out.
I think it will. I mean, I have too much sympathy for some of these teams, man. But I mean, there's definitely a lot of frustration in Edmonton, and I think it's not just this year. It's been a culminating of the past, honestly, 3 seasons to go to the Western Conference Final, play the Avalanche. They go on to win the Cup. Then you play the Knights, and in the second round last year, and then they go on and win the Cup. So, I mean, I'm not saying Vancouver's going to win the Cup this year, but if it's the Edmonton luck, maybe it's a thing. Like I said,
if Vancouver wins the Cup, that'd be crazy, man.
Yeah. Twice is coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. So if Vancouver wins, all you got to do is play Edmonton and beat them in the Stanley Cup Finals, and you got yourself a ring. But yeah, there's a lot of frustration there, and I think we've been pointing fingers at the goaltender this entire time, Stuart Skinner, and he has not played where he needs to be playing in playoff hockey.
Yeah, at least this series.
Yeah,
he played pretty good last series, but
yeah. But against Vancouver, you just can't do that, and Vancouver's a good team. But I mean, seriously, looking at all of these, it's tough to say who's going to take this ring right now. The Rangers look pretty dominant, but again, Carolina's right there with them. They're just not able to finish, so it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, I'd say the favorites are probably the Rangers right now.
Yeah.
I mean, like we said, the Stars and Avs, that series, I feel like that's also another series. Whoever wins that is they're gonna look really good too. I think it's kind of between those two teams. I'm really pulling for Vancouver. That would be fucking awesome. I really enjoy watching like Zadorov and both Lindholm. I mean, those are former Flames. Zadorov is running shit, man. I mean, I thought it was pretty funny too. He said there's nothing good in Edmonton except for watching hockey, which I fully agree with. Wow. Edmonton is not a very good city to hang out in. I've done some time up there, and it's a big city, but there's not shit. I mean, especially compared to Calgary. I know everyone knows I love Calgary, but Calgary is just so much better, man. I mean, when it comes to the nightlife, restaurants, things to do, I think the only thing Edmonton might have is their arena is a little bit nicer. For right now, we're getting a new one in a few years. Nice. So
cool. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, let us know in the comments what you guys think about all these series, who you think is going to take it, who's opened your eyes a little bit, who's disappointed you this round. I mean, I think the biggest disappointment for me is Boston. I thought they were going to put up more of a fight in the past, at least game 2 and game 3. It just looked like Florida was on a different level compared to them. Game 4, call it what you want, blame the refs, whatever. I don't care. But I thought
41-18.
Yeah. Outshot 41-18, which again, like I'm going to go off on Boston again. This is what annoys me is because I see that and it's like, 41-18. And then they're like, well, because they got all these penalties called on them. So they're always on the power play. It's like, well, then have a better penalty kill because stop taking penalties. Like there's so many ways you can combat that. And regardless, there's no way you get 18 shots on goal. And it's not just game 4. That's the thing, too. It was game 3 and game 2. You guys had 15, 17, and 18 shots on goal. It's not the ref's fault. It's your fault. Figure it out. But with that, I think that's my end on Boston. I hope I don't have to speak about them again. And I hope this series is over on Tuesday. So when this episode's out, we'll see. But with that being said, thank you guys for listening. Make sure you go follow us on Instagram so you can be a part of next week's parlay and vote on that. Hopefully win us some money. Yeah, post us on your story if you ride with us. Let us know if you're going to be, riding that coattail with us. We probably have to prove ourselves first and actually get a bet first, but it's fun. We're playing all together as a team, basically, for this bet stuff. We ride on those votes. Those votes are important to see what we think, what the masses think, and that's what we're going to go for. So, Gal, you have any last thoughts?
Nah, shout out everyone for that was the golden ticket, man. I thought we were going to hit that, and I was stoked. But JT Miller just freaking didn't get 3 shots. But yeah, man, got a 3v3 hockey starting back up for me. I got a game tonight at 7:45, so stoked on getting back on the ice tonight. And yeah, man, thanks for everyone interacting with us. I know we've gained some following our podcast in specific, so shout out all our fans. And that's about it. Love you guys.
Yeah, we love you guys, and we'll see you guys next week. And I have a feeling it could be on to round 3 next episode. Maybe a game 7 that we're going to be reacting to. But with that, we'll leave you guys with a thought of the day. Let us know in the comments who you think is going to win the Stanley Cup out of what you've seen out of them. I know it's bold. It's a little too early, but who's your favorite? Let us know. It's a requirement. You have to let us know. I'll hold you to gunpoint on that. But other than that, guys, like Galli said, thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.